This is tremendously silly, and it's hard to take seriously. What is this? Gay pigs are coming to groom your kids. It's ridiculous. But I don't understand Michael Knowles. And in this graphic that he had made for his show, showing that gay pigs are coming to groom your kids. Gay pigs are coming to groom your kids. So this is a very aggressive thumbnail. Peppa does not look happy. Peppa's usually a cheerful pig, very happy pig. She is very upset. I don't know who pissed her off. I don't know if she's angry at J.K. Rowling getting ratioed. I don't understand what's going on in Peppa's life. But Peppa's very unhappy. She is here to make the children homosexual. She's coming out. She's very gay. She's gonna make your kids gay, I think is the implication. Look, I think we often talk about the negative side effects of like this type of abject homophobia on our society. I think we talk about it, and I think it's serious. It's very serious, and we need to acknowledge that that's happening, right? Even if there are like really like ridiculous statements being made, it is having a very negative impact. I don't know if you guys saw, but over the weekend, actually, yesterday, somebody actually burnt down a donut shop for just having like trans people like hosting a drag event. There was a drag event. A guy firebombed an Oklahoma donut shop because it hosted a drag event. Not just firebombed it. Like, this is terrorism. So obviously this is having like a real impact. I think there's like a video you can literally just watch him firebomb it. Let's actually do that quickly. Look at this.
So my son got me this weird new tool for Father's Day, and at first I thought it looked kind of crazy.
Surveillance video from
very crazy. Here it is.
From the donut hole catches a person in dark clothing and a red hat walking up to the business around 2:30 this morning. Investigators say the person first puts a letter with anti-LGBTQ rhetoric on the door of a neighboring business, then uses a bat to...
You hear how much he struggled to say those letters? LGBTQ? Listen to how much he struggles to say those letters.
Then uses a bat on LGBTQ rhetoric on the door of a neighboring business, then uses a bat to smash through the glass door. Once it's broken, you can see the person light a Molotov cocktail, throw it inside, and take off.
It's got, chemical of some kind in it that is meant to spread fire quickly and cause a great potential of damage.
Tulsa firefighters say the homemade explosive did not spread and only caused minor damage inside.
So my son got...
I don't care. So that is what I wanted to talk to you guys about, because this is very, very serious, right? This is very serious. This is anti-gay, anti-queer terrorism. That's what this is. This was a firebombing. This is what they did to like black churches and in like community houses like that, like tried to like stand up for civil rights during the civil rights movement. We're now going to see that type of violence continually directed at queer people as they continue to assert themselves in the public sphere. And there's a backlash for queer people being active and around in public life, trying to access medical care and health care, and trying to have gay marriage and spread information about, queer issues, whether that be AIDS or other issues that need to be dealt with in the queer community. The more that happens, the more that backlash is going to hit before eventually, hopefully, culturally, we are able to win that battle. But until then, due to a lot of rhetoric we've been seeing online, in large part, we've been seeing this type of violence escalating. And this is just one example of, not the only one, but one example of actual terrorism against a local queer community spot. And so I wanted to say, before we covered this next topic, that this is very serious, the type of rhetoric that leads to this stuff, because it obviously is having a detrimental impact on queer people in the United States. And I wanted to emphasize how serious it was, because comparing that to this, right? It's hard to imagine that this type of rhetoric can end up having that type of an impact. Definitely with how silly it is. And so I do want to acknowledge this is tremendously silly, and it's hard to take seriously. Because look, what is this? Gay pigs are coming to groom your kids. It's ridiculous. But this is a serious issue. And I just wanted to emphasize that before we listen to this silly nonsense. So let's listen to Michael Knowles and let's see what he has to say.
So the libs have to double down on all this stuff. And they're doubling down, speaking of our friends in the United Kingdom, they're doubling down by turning a beloved British children's cartoon gay as well. Peppa Pig. I've never watched Peppa Pig. I guess I could have started to watch it with my children soon, but I now have no intention of doing that. Peppa Pig has gone gay. Everything else is gay, so Peppa Pig has gone gay too. Critics have apparently taken issue with Peppa Pig because it glorifies the family. And by the family, I mean what is now called the traditional family. I just call it the family, but it's the traditional family. You know, mommy and daddy and the kids, and they live together, and they are educated together, and they, you know, have dinners together, and they function as a family. Well, some critics have taken issue with that because on the left, they want to destroy the family because the family is a great impediment to their cultural and political revolutions.
I don't think the left wants to destroy the family. I think there are people on the left who acknowledge that a family is different for different people. That families are not always going to be mommy and daddy and daughter and son and dog, golden retriever with picket fence. That sometimes family is an uncle taking care of the one family member who is left, you know, their nephew. Maybe the uncle raises their nephew because of outside circumstances that creates that as a family. Maybe it's two men in the household. Maybe it is grandparents raising a grandchild because the mother died or the father died. Like, family is many, many different things. And you can be adopted, and your family isn't necessarily your biological family. And families can be made up of people of different cultures and backgrounds, depending on who you adopt or how you marry into other families. So families are different and families are diverse. It's not that they're anti-family. It's just that we don't believe the definition of family is solely one man, one woman. I think that is, the left isn't against family. They just think that family is not as simple as that. I think there's more that your family with a man and a woman is fine and okay, deserving of respect, and a different family made of maybe of two men who have married each other and taking care of a daughter and a son is perfectly okay as well. So I don't think they're anti-family, and I doubt anybody's against Peppa Pig because it has a traditional family.
So in 2019, they started a petition that demanded that the series creators add a same-sex couple. Not just a same-sex couple, by the way, a same-sex couple with adopted or surrogate children. I don't know how they got children, but with children, you know, they want to create this kind of a mimicry,
He says that as if it's a bad thing. Like, gay people raising children is a bad thing. Like, oh my gosh, not only did they want gay people, but they wanted them to raise kids. They wanted them around children, as if that's like a ridiculous notion.
This imitation of a family with all the kind of sexual revolution stuff built in. And so
imitation of a family. Even though it is a family, but he says the imitation of a family. As if for some reason that's not good enough to be a family. Why? Why not?
They start this petition. It obviously has nothing to do with the plot line of the show. They just demand it because it will make them feel better about their own.
Everybody would accept that two grandparents raising their grandchild because their mother was like, there was some problem with their mother. That's a family, right? People would acknowledge that's a family. If the father dies and the mother has to raise the child alone or with somebody else, a new stepfather, people would acknowledge that that is a family. If you can acknowledge all these different scenarios that are different than what is supposed to be like the one man, one woman scenario, single mom, single dad, all of those are family. But then when it's two men, somehow it's different. Now it's not a family. Unless he's going to take the hardline position that grandparents raising their grandson isn't a family. Or a new stepfather stepping in after the first one dies isn't family either. Or a single mom isn't family. Or a single dad is it's. I feel it's just a ridiculous stance to take culturally.
Sort of sexual ideologies and delusions. The petition has garnered over 23,000 signatures, and now Peppa Pig has given in. They introduced a...
They say given in as if they were resisting. Like, we'll never have a homo on this show. No queers in the animal kingdom. Keep them out. Keep them out. Keep them out. Like it was like he was like Kadyrov, the Chechen warlord, is the one who directs Peppa Pig. There will not be a single gay pig, not a single one. What do you mean they gave in? they have a queer family in the show now. Okay, fine. And what's the problem?
A lesbian couple, and then the little baby Peppa Pig says, quote, "I live with my mummy and my other mummy." So the reaction from this that you're going to hear from not just the conservatives, but from the centrist people and the independent people and the ones who maybe even they're center left, and they say, why does everything have to be so political? Why does everything have to be so woke? Come on. Can't you leave the cartoons alone? This is a very common refrain that you hear from very reasonable people, but there's an answer to it. Why does everything have to be woke? Because you won't stop it.
What? There's gays in the show now, and what's the problem with this? What's the problem? Is the problem children knowing that gays exist? Is the problem that there's different types of families and they get represented? Like, people are going to find gay families walking down the road. You can't stop your kids from seeing a gay couple holding hands as they walk down the road. What's the problem here? What's the big problem? He's like already like, why are they pushing the wokeness agenda? Like, he hasn't even gotten into like why this is bad, because it isn't bad. There's no problem with it. This is a free country. Like, and some people have families in this manner. Those families are represented in the world, in media, art and media, like cartoons, represent the world. And this is a way of children's media representing the world as it really is, which has gay people in it. Has black people, has white people, has very many diverse peoples. Why is it always now political when there's a gay in it? Why is that political? It's not political if it's a straight family. It's political if it's a gay family. It just feels so ridiculous to me. Like, if the standard is, okay, well, when you have gay people, that's political because you're advocating for homosexuality, and that's queer and that's left wing or something. Okay, well then, couldn't I just say, okay, well no, it's political anytime you have a married couple because you're reinforcing heteronormative values. Boom, now your thing's political. If that's the level we're gonna get to, then that sucks. But like, it seems like that's what the level is being dragged down to. Like, it's political. If the idea is just like representing queer people in media is political, then every single relationship in media is political, and we're gonna have to get rid of all these cartoons that have married couples in them because they reinforce heteronormativity and the straight white family. I think that's ridiculous. We don't need to get rid of all of that media. But if media starts to get created that has queer people also represented, that isn't a problem. Just like it wasn't a problem when George in the Jetsons, when they had a family, a mother and a wife. It wasn't a problem then. Nobody cared. Nobody said it was too sexual for the kids. But when it's a queer family, now it's different, or now it's wrong. It's just ridiculous. It's just hypocrisy.
That's why. Because in politics, the people who want something are always going to win against the people who are indifferent. That's why. Because the people who, for whatever ideological or sexual or appetitive reasons, want there to be a couple of lesbians on this kids' cartoon, they're willing to just go out there and whine and complain and beg and shout and boycott and do whatever. And the people who don't want that very often are not even willing to make an argument against it. Why should there not be a lesbian couple with kids on the children's cartoon?
Yeah, why not?
The answer is because it's disordered. It's very disordered, and two ladies cannot create a child together. And so the only way to do that is by reordering our adoption system or creating all sorts of new bioethical concerns through surrogacy and in vitro fertilization and buying a man's sperm and renting a woman's womb and all the rest of it. And it's all disordered, and it's wrong, and it's morally unacceptable. And
it's disordered. Okay, so because it's not in the preferred order, because this family wasn't made the way he wants, because his order for family: man, marry woman, woman, man, fuck, produce child, right? That is his order for family. And then the family raises the kid, the two parents. But when, let's say, two people have a kid and then those two parents die, it's disorderly for the grandparents to take and raise the children. Is it bad for the grandparents to raise the children? Absolutely not. It's disorderly for, say, a woman to die in a horrific accident in like some terrible way. Is it disorderly for the father to then raise the child alone? I mean, yes, yeah, but that happens. And those are families too. Those are recognizable families, and they raise still some pretty good kids. And nobody has shown me any negative consequences that a child gets from being raised by homosexuals. Their educational outcomes are the same. Their financial outcomes are the same. They produce, like, homosexual people can raise good, moral, upstanding people who are productive in society and will be good people. And so there's, when you say it's disorderly, he's just saying this is the order that I want people to follow to create a family. Orders outside of that are wrong because it's disorderly. Because it's disorderly. If it can produce the same outcomes and it's still good for the child, then I have no problem with it. Especially since there's tons of children that need to be adopted out of the adoption system. And if you age out of adoption, your outcomes in life statistically are going to be much worse than if you get adopted by a gay couple. And so showing to young children that these types of families exist and that they're productive and that they're healthy, I think is perfectly fine. Because these are the type of interactions children are going to engage in the world, where they find people who have two mummies, find people who have two daddies. Dylan, the book, there's a book. True. God did it. Okay. Well then, what can I say? God invoked. You got the trump card.
That's why it shouldn't be there. Very few conservatives are willing to say that.
Yeah, because it's stupid, and they lost the argument.
Because they don't want to be called phobic or bigoted or intolerant or whatever. And so they don't.
It is bigoted to say that your family's wrong and your lifestyle's disorderly, therefore children shouldn't see it. That is bigoted, yes.
I want to say that. All the conservatives are going to say is, come on, don't you think, why does it got to be so woke? It's got to be so woke because you won't articulate the argument against it, and you won't sign any petitions, and you won't demand it. And so the people...
Because what he's saying is the reason why TV's woke and has queer people is because you guys aren't against queer people. And until you guys get out against queer people, this is going to keep happening. This is what it sounds like he's trying to say. That you guys allow this stuff to morally be perpetrated in society, that these types of families are okay, therefore you're going to see them in media. He's basically saying we have allowed these people to advance themselves in our society. We have allowed them to gain things like marriage rights and representation in media, and now the consequence of that is your children now will know of their existence. And that's bad because the queers bring disorder.
Who are motivated and who are eager and who do have a plan and a vision for society, they're the ones who are going to win. And these kind of pathetic platitudes for neutrality or just, come on, let's slow things down, or hey, let's leave the kids alone.
I mean, the problem with his whole disorder argument, I guess for me, is like, there's been no showing that children raised by gay people have less productive lives, or they're poorer, or they're not as educated. There's no evidence for that whatsoever. And so you can call it disorderly if you want, but if it leads to a net positive outcome by having more children adopted and not having children age out of the adoption system, or just more children living happy and healthily, then I don't understand what the problem is. Whether it was not in the proper order of events that you wanted. And many people have families that are not in this proper order of events.
It's not going to go anywhere. The everything has to be so woke because the woke people can get away with it. That's why. They can get away with it because you let them get away. We got a story from social media that's just...
Okay, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. God, dude, the gay panic continues. It continues in ridiculous fashion, but it does continue.